Board President's report. I just want to give you kind of an update on kind of the things that we get as a member of the board. We get legislative updates from CSBA, and the legislative year just ended, and there were a number of issues that have had been discussed and voted upon and enacted into law. And I'm just going to give you a quick summary, and just forgive me for reading it verbatim, but just kind of a quick summary. Probably the one that kind of is kind of maybe dovetails with what was spoken earlier by one of the public members regarding late school start. Basically, legislation intended to ban all public middle and high schools from starting their regular school days before 8:30 a.m. failed in the late hours of the session, but the author vows to try again next year. There's been some talk about they would give some latitude to small districts and for local control and how they would want to structure their day, but that may be, you may hear in the future as far as what decisions would be made for students of that age. Another item that they discussed, and it was actually passed. It was ending meal shaming, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but students, I'll read it here, students in California whose families owe money for school lunches will no longer be given only a snack, a cheese stick, an apple, and a glass of milk, or nothing at all until they have paid up. They'll get the same meal as the other students under the bill the legislature passed this last week. So that bodes well for that situation. Another one is the reserve cap, and there was a deal reached, and the reserve cap is what we structure our budget as far as a reserve and basically a rainy day fund for operations of the school district. And they basically come to agreement, and it may not be applicable to our district because we're a small district under 2,500 students, but it was passed, and it's basically the fight is over. California Teachers Association and the California School Board Association have compromised to end a 3-year fight over how much money school districts can keep in reserve for emergencies. So this is probably a discussion that for a future board meeting regarding the financial department of the district, but see how it affects our bottom line. And then finally, we've got, I think, and then finally, probably one that's probably the most pressing and probably the most in the news is basically the sanctuary state, and it passed. And that kind of goes back to last December. We as a board passed a resolution to protect students within this campus as a sanctuary campus or similar environment. But let me read this, the first paragraph. SB 54 by State Senate President Pro Tem Kevin DeLone of Los Angeles prohibits local police and other authorities, including those who work at schools, from cooperating with federal immigration agents without a warrant. Immigrations make up 30% of California's population, and half of the state's children have at least one parent who is foreign-born, according to the Public Policy Institute of California. De Leon said the bill that will bolster trust between immigrant communities and state agencies and lead to improvements in public safety, school attendance, and public health. And Governor Brown does plan to sign it if he hasn't signed it already. That concludes my report.